Thank you. It's a pleasure to be invited to be here to speak. I was asked, what does it mean to me? What does veteran mean to me? And I took some time to think about it, and I thought, and I wrote down some notes. I probably won't stick right to them. But I think the best way to explain what a veteran is to me is to kind of tell you how I ended up being a Navy chaplain. So we talked earlier about 11/11/11, the hour, the day, and the month, the signing of the armistice to end the hostilities of World War I, the war to end all wars. Oh, if that were only true, many of us wouldn't be here today because there wouldn't be as many veterans still around. I'm a child of the 60s. I remember seeing the Vietnam War on the evening news with Walter Cronkite, black and white. I also lived in North Carolina, not far from Fort Bragg, Pope, and Seymour Johnson Air Force bases and Camp Lejeune. Veterans, at least on the news, were dirty, drunk, drug addicts during that time. Not a very favorable picture in the news. They were being spit on when they returned home. And these were people who didn't volunteer. They were called. They were drafted. They were told, this is where you're going to go and this is what you're going to do. And it wasn't very pretty. But even as a young child, while somewhat afraid of the veterans because of their violent nature, I remember feeling that they were being mistreated. After all, they were drafted. They went to places they didn't want to go. They did things they didn't want to do. And you can't unsee or undo those things in your life. It made sense that their grief was not healing and that they were doing what they could do to cope. At the same time, there were these John Wayne movies about World War II. John Wayne, older than most soldiers would have been, kind of glamorized the role of a soldier or a sailor. I think he played every Marine. I think he played them all eventually. But it was a cleaner and more heroic view of veterans. And while a part of me wanted to be that hero, the other part of me was still afraid of the reality in which I was growing up. I never wanted to be in the military. I went to college and became an engineer. After working long enough to obtain my professional license, I wanted to contribute to the church in a big way. I ended up helping build a seminary in the Czech Republic. It's an international seminary where people would come, they would study, and they would return to their own homeland as a missionary because they would already know the culture, and now they would know how to teach it. When I returned, I wanted to do more. I wanted to continue to build schools, orphanages, hospitals, summer camps, whatever was needed in order to take care of the youth of our world, the elderly, and whoever else out there needed taken care of. I was accused in elementary school of being a bully, but that's only because I was trying to make people do the right thing. I wanted for them what was good and what was right, and I just didn't know how to convince them otherwise. So after living in Europe for 2.5 years, I came home. I went to divinity school so that maybe the people I was working with would take me serious, that I was really committed to doing this kind of work. But while I was in divinity school, I took these classes in pastoral care and counseling, and I discovered there was a chaplain inside waiting to get out. I really didn't want to be a preacher, and I came from a background that, well, they don't ordain women anymore. They did for about 20 years, and then they thought they were doing the wrong thing, and they turned the other way and no longer ordained women. So there was another group that split off from that, and they did continue along the tracks that I had grown up with. And they said, we'll ordain you, and we'll endorse you as a chaplain. And so I started my Navy career, because there, when the recruiter had come to talk to us, He had promised all the counseling I could possibly want. And he was right. I have found it to be one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had. I used to envy those people who went to work every day and loved it, and then I became one. People in church sometimes don't understand about veterans. Just like people in church sometimes don't understand a lot about everyone. And I'm not saying that to say that church is bad. I'm just saying that church is a collection of people who don't always understand each other. Sometimes they ask, why this? Why would you join the military? Because the military is a collection of people who also need. They need someone who cares. And God put the burden on my heart to care beyond what I know. If I acted on what I know, I would not have taken care of as many people as I have. I've had sailors and Marines both come to me, and as I'm talking to them and I explain to them how much I care, and they're like, how can you care? You don't even know me. I just walked in the door. It's like, that doesn't matter. None of that matters. You're here and I care. If only all of us, not just all of us here, but all of us in the world could feel that way about each other, it'll be a different place. It'll be a much different place. So why do young men and women join the military? They escape from a bad home. They do it to honor their country, their family. They do it as a tradition passed down from one family member to the next. They do it in hope. Hope for a nation that remains free. We are all called to serve, whether in the days of the draft or as volunteers. We're getting better at taking care of those when they return home. Still haven't got it all right, but we're getting better. We're more aware of what those things mean. We are the fabric of our nation, reaching from the very beginning to the present and beyond. For that, I'm grateful to be a chaplain in the United States Navy.
Thank you, Chaplain Collins. In closing, I would like to thank all those who helped this ceremony possible. A special thanks to Sergeant Cruz and his Marines, and Chaplain Coley for taking time out of their day to honor us. Thank you, Dr. James Limbaugh, Kathy Owens, and the ASG, who without their support, none of this would have taken place. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And on behalf of the Veterans Club and the Resource Center, a special thanks to those angels working behind the scenes, such as my advisor, Leo Orange, Ms. Amparo, Kathy, Antonia, who making coming to campus and being a condor an enjoyable experience. And of course, to my colleagues, Eric, Adam, Jackie, and Chelsea. Thank you. Last but not least, to Mrs. America Barroso, our Veterans Counselor, for all she does for veterans and students on campus, and to the many more staff members that help veterans achieve their dreams. As you look around the quad today, you would have noticed the flags along our path to our ceremony. Those stand for all the service members lost in all our wars. California has suffered the most loss in all 50 states, with our current falling count at 752 heroes. Ventura County has lost 20 in Iraq and Afghanistan. I simply ask